Last year when we debated this, I didn't stand up and say much. I kind of listened, as I have today. And I actually spent a little more time preparing this testimony than I normally do, because many of you know I often sit here with my pen and write my testimony as I get ready to stand up. Because I've heard a lot of things today. A lot of things that I wanted to make sure that I at least tried to cover and what I understand the issues. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the issues that I've heard and that I've done some homework on too. So let me first talk about, which we haven't, and I don't want to get into it, is the two reports, or actually three reports if I count the one from the Office of Fiscal Policy. One has lots of costs, one has lots of savings. And I've said this since day one, somewhere in the middle lies the truth. Perhaps it's our fiscal note. Perhaps it's not, as we just heard. I, as a former forester, yes, back in the days when I had peace and tranquility in my life, I did quite a bit of financial analysis, looking at various forestry opportunities. And I always looked at what was the reasonable best, reasonable worst, and most probable outcome. Yet, all of you would remember that is, in fact, the bell-shaped curve. So in the expansion analysis that we just heard about, I think we have one that's optimistic, one that's pessimistic, and I believe the one we have is right on money. We all have gone down to the Office of Fiscal Analysis not happy with the note that we saw there, and all have made the arguments that we have better numbers than they do. But at the end of the day, in my 12 years of service to this body and to the other body, I've learned that they're pretty close to what they do. Hospital charitable care. I received this letter from my hospital CEO, and I want to share parts of it with you because it really hits home. The I in the letter is my CEO. As the Maine legislature deliberates the issue of Maine care expansion, I believe it's important for the residents of Franklin County to understand the implications of passing Maine care expansion legislation onto our local community health system, including Franklin Memorial Hospital. Over the past years, the hospital has seen a dramatic increase in the needs of patients and families in our geographic area who are requiring primary care services and hospital inpatient and outpatient specialty care. We are seeing more of these individuals who have no health insurance coverage, but who could be covered under the Maine care expansion proposal before the Maine legislature. And I want to emphasize this sentence. This means they will have a better chance in receiving the right health care at the right time in the right setting. Individuals without health insurance who seek care at Franklin Memorial Hospital usually receive charity care, which has gone up exponentially in the last 2 years. During this time, the hospital has provided approximately $22 million in uncompensated care. This increase amounts for 7% of the hospital total budget. There are many questions about Maine care expansion will cost the state of Maine. In actuality, the federal government will finance approximately 95% of the costs associated with the expansion through 2016 under the Affordable Care Act. It is true, she says, after 2016, the state of Maine will assume more financial risks. However, she says, the next 3 years allows us the time to truly focus how we can deliver health care to all citizens of Maine in a lower cost while maintaining the quality of services. And they've done some of those things already at the hospital. The cost outlined in this letter will be paid by us one way or the other. The first way we've already heard about will be passed on in our health insurance premiums, or yes, through the expansion and the ACA. We will be taxed through something called the HIT tax, health insurance tax, and the insurance surcharges and lower payments to our docs and hospitals. These are taxes. That's what Judge Roberts found. And will help fund the expansion so we can pay me now or pay me later. Why not take that money for us with jobs, reduce charitable care, and create a healthier population? Or as my CEO said, however, the next 3 years allows us the time to truly focus how we can deliver care to all citizens in Maine at a lower cost while maintaining the quality of services. Managed care. As it now stands, if you have Medicaid, you'll have to find a doctor who accepts it. It's not necessary to find network of providers. The lack of network may cause Medicaid recipients to put off signing up with a primary care doc. They may wait until the health problems progress and they seek out emergency care or expensive hospital outpatient work. The managed care system will fundamentally alter the Department of Health and Human Services. Paradigm shift. The focus would shift away from the processed claims towards strategically handling contracts and protection of Medicaid recipients. having all good having good contracts with a few care networks could provide much-needed access to health care. I was recently provided an article by one of my constituents that talks about the positive outcomes from expansion. 3,100 people treated for depression, 1,862 provided with proper diabetic treatments, 1,055 mammograms, 1,886 pap smears, resulting in 953 fewer catastrophic health cases. Now, if I use a little bit of math, know that some of these cases that when it got out of control could actually cost as much as $100,000 per case. That's $95 million. That certainly is a savings, I would think. Now, I did hear talk about local hospitals and doing things in the bill, local hospitals taking efforts to manage this care. Totally agree with that. And in fact, our bill lets that go forward. We support that idea and certainly want to continue that effort as we go out there. Insurance coverage. I too have gone to the various calculators that are out there. So I put a single male in from Wilton, center of the universe, making $15,000 a year. I found, in fact, the premium was at $1.57. Pretty cheap razor, one might say. Yet I found the deductibles were huge, like $5,000, $6,350 out-of-pocket expenses, and 50-cent copay. I put a family in, a mother and 2 children, paying the same premium and the same kind of deductibles. Now, as has been said, there are subsidies on the exchange, and I tried to go there. Interestingly enough, I couldn't get in, which I've heard other people say. But keep in mind, these same people have to pay rent with their money, they have to pay for food, they have to pay for gas, they have to take care of their car, they have to pay private clothes. I'm not so sure much money they'll have left even after it's subsidized. I also looked at a person making an income of $8,000, and I'll give you my 2 examples in a bit. The premium was $750.60 per month, with the same deductibles that I described before, without a chance of a subsidy, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The bottom line to me, yes, insurance is available and affordable, yet the cost to use it is prohibitive. 3 things could happen in my mind. 1, they could use the services and claim they could not pay, charitable care. 2, they could choose not to use the package until really necessary. The cost of care would be huge, as it would have let a serious case go on too long without treatment. And 3, they could use the policy and try to pay. This choice could lead them to the ultimate safety net. Now, I want to share with you what I heard was a song this weekend by a group that a friend of mine asked me to go to. Now, I can't tell you what kind of music they played because I have a lead ear, or actually probably worse than that. But they were called Lou and Peter Berryman. Now, they called this song The Family Car. So I want you to just think about what I'm reading to you about the safety net. It seems like nothing had paid off, unexpectedly laid off. We were just evicted, our hearts so heavy. Yet we are thankful. We have half a tank full. And we're all able to squeeze into the Chevy because when you're down and out, as low as a man can get, remember, the family car is America's safety net. There's more to the song, but I think you get the message. Healthy people. I've heard this quite a bit, and I really try to understand what they look like. One of the things I started to think about is, when I look at somebody and I see them healthy walking around, I don't know their story. I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know anything about them. I don't know if they've been laid off. I don't know if they have cancer. I don't know if they have mental illness. I just see a healthy person in front of me. So let me give you my 2 examples, and the I in this one happens to come from the constituents' voices. Both of these individuals make less than $10,000. And this is the voice in here is the constituent. One of my older brothers, who's 53 years old, has mental illness and has affected his ability to work and retain reasonable jobs. He has a lot of odd jobs, including carpentry, millwork, house painting, food services. He is too proud to go for any kind of disability insurance. He currently lives with our elderly parents and is their primary care provider. Big responsibility, ever since Dad's stroke. And when anybody needs a helping hand, he's there, including helping the elderly relatives and getting paid with casseroles and clothes. He does valuable work, but he doesn't qualify for the subsidy. The second person, I'm a person with no income. I worked for 33 years for a company. I was let go, downsized. Unemployment ran out, had a part-time job for 2 months. It was all I was able to find. I was one who signed up for and was qualified for charity care at FMH. In the year I had to use it once. I was so grateful I did, as I thought I was having a heart attack. It wasn't, thank God. When I tried to apply again, I was told, we don't do that anymore. You'll now have to go through the bills. She would be covered if expansion takes place. This last person hits home with me personally because I've lived through 4 downsizing. Fortunately, I survived, but my friends did not. This older, dedicated worker didn't qualify for anything yet. Too young to retire, too old for anyone to hire, too young for Medicare and Social Security, yet too old to be without insurance. This expansion would cover both of those individuals, and they are both at low income that they would not qualify if they could not make a statement that they would be above $10,000. You know, as I thought about this, and again, it was just funny because this weekend I went to this concert and they sang the song and it's called Homelessness. Now, I promise you I'm not going to sing it, because if you did, you all would leave. I promise you that. But let me read what it says, because I want you to listen to the message. Even though it's triggered to homelessness, it really struck me. I never dreamed I'd be without a home to comfort me, till a friend of mine this very spring lost his whole house and everything. So now I know that life is strange, that all is luck and luck can change. And don't forget, it's sad but true, next time it could be you. The runaway truck, one slip in the muck, one stretch of bad luck, one family feud, one litigious old prude, one long bad mood, one toaster too hot, one investment that's not, one tiny blood clot, one decision on gin, one paycheck too thin, one damn night of sin. Next time around, it could be you. My mother often told me, and some of you have read this, and my mother is reverberating in my head, and I hear you, Mom, okay, thank you, stop it. My mother used to tell me, by the grace of God, it could be me. My story could be different. But before you ask the question about the healthy individual, know their story. Fraud. We've talked about this. We're all concerned about it. Last week I had a businessman who called up to express his concerns about my disappointment in supporting this plan. He told me about fraud. I challenged him and asked for a name. He gave it to me. Looks like we caught that person bilking the system. So I say, give me the names. Let us catch them. This bill expands that action. Section 21 and 29. This is a problem, clearly to me. However, the savings in this bill, I think, can address and help these individuals. But let me make it clear, they all have health coverage. Now, I don't want to make light of this problem. However, working within the rules, as my good friend Senator Cates addressed, I think we can make this situation better. Finally, my constituent wrote me and said this, and in it again, she is the I. In any case, I think expansion plan needs to be seriously considered and implemented. It's a good test for the expansion itself and will immediately help out some of the folks who need it for their health care. The only other option for them is to have no health insurance, which I see only sets people back when they get injured or sick, miss work, and they can't get their jobs back or can't catch up financially, contributing to the vicious cycle of poverty. The people I have mentioned are good people, not lazy, not expecting handouts, and are willing to contribute to their towns and communities. By giving them an option to make health care coverage, we are investing in the health of our state and our communities, and not standing by while people get sick and remain uncared for. My mother always told me, help the less fortunate. See, I grew up in a very similar way to some of the other people in this room. My mother worked in the times in the 50s when it was unusual for a mother to work. My father worked 2 jobs. He went to sea for 5 years to make extra money. They made things work. They helped me with opportunities because they loved their family, and even me. So even when my mother, all the time my mother would remind me, even when we were having tough times, there are many less fortunate than they needed our help. She would say to me, don't forget them. I won't. I will vote green on this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.